Hey, what's up? It's Chris Young. What do you say we take a few minutes and let's talk about some of the features on your Gulfstream Enlighten 27BHS. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Young. We're going to start right up front with your Gulfstream Enlighten with, you'll notice I have these tools in my hand. We're going to get to these in just a second. You have a powered tongue jack on your Enlighten. Right here, you'll see the rocker switch for the LED light that gives you a little bit of additional safety and security. Up is off, down is on. And the bottom rocker switch is your powered tongue jack. So push that to go up, push that to go down to help set up nice and easy. Now you do have a manual override on this one as well. So you lift up this rubber nozzle right here and you'll see, let me set this one down for just a second. You'll see that there is a gear in there that you can attach this to. Put that down in there, make sure that it's on the gear safe and secure, and then you can hand crank whichever direction you need to go. Now right behind that is your LP tanks and the plastic cover. Now, the way that this works, you notice that there's a selector switch right here with a readout gauge. You see how the arrow is pointed to this tank. We're gonna open it up. We don't have any gas there. So I'm gonna switch it over to this tank. You just move the nozzle the corresponding direction. Obviously, these aren't hooked up. And if you had gas, that would read out green. And if you want to do an even distribution of the gas, what you do is you move the selector switch down to the bottom and that will pull the gas evenly from both of your 20-pound LP tanks. And when you're using your LP cover, you'll see that you have an access panel with some screws on top right here. When putting the cover back on your LP tanks, try to make sure those are pointed towards the coach, because when the wind's coming, there's a good chance that if they're facing forward, this could pop up and make it fly off. Now, your Gulfstream Enlighten also comes set up with a Furion solar charge 10 amp quick connect. This is where if you do have the solar panels, you can plug that in right there, the connector, and that will trickle charge your battery. You just have to make sure that the battery disconnect is turned on so that the battery will charge. Come around over here to the campsite. You'll see that we have our storage doors right here. Push these up. You got a little plastic clip that helps keep them in place. And you'll see that you do have some light in here in your pass-through storage. This is also where you'll find the majority of the manual components that you'll need to operate this coach. Now, this one does have powered stabilizer jacks. These are not leveling jacks, so if you are on a spot that's not even, make sure to get yourself some blocks to put your jacks down on, and I'll show you how to operate those when we get to the other side. But here on the campsite is the manual overdrive for those jacks. Just put this tool in there, and you can crank it down if you're at a spot where you don't have power. And of course, go the opposite direction to bring them back up. Now, the Gulfstreams Enlightens do come with the Carefree of Colorado compass awnings on them. They have LED light strips. They do have an adjustable pitch, but it's not like some of the other awnings. To adjust the pitch, you're gonna have to go in and push these nozzles in, move the selector switch to the desired position, but try to only pull from right here. They also have a jump option. If you do not have power for your awning, you can take that front cover off, and there's two connector switches. You can hook up to 10 volt or 14 volt, almost like a driver, and that will allow you to move the awning back and forth if you find out that you don't have power. Now, for your steps, you do have the solid step over steps on the Gulfstream Enlightens, but before you deploy them or put them away, make sure that the door is open. And you'll notice when I lift them up here, that these have the little pull tabs to adjust the legs. Just push that out to pull the pin out, maybe. And there you'll see how the leg comes out. Usually when you get your Gulfstream, this is how the legs will be. And the best way to get the right measurement for your legs, go ahead, deploy the set so that they're all the way down and this base here in the doorway is flush on the ground. Find the right option, and then just push the pin through. Like that. You can obviously use any of the holes right here for it. There's really no wrong or right, but you want to make sure that when you do have them deployed, the steps are down and safe and secure. And when you're putting them away, just be careful lifting them up. You'll notice that you have a toggle switch right here. This moves the latches in and out. Release it. Now they are caught on the frame on the inside. And then to deploy them, same thing. Just pull it. Pull the legs down, just be careful setting them down. Make sure they are flush so that you can shut the door. Over here, we have our 110 outlet there. It is GFCI, plus you have a cable connection on a lot of them. This is the back of your furnace. You'll see that you have your steel rims right there with the Dexter Easy Lube axles. You should have a 4x4 sewer hose storage here on the back, spare tire mounted. A lot of them will have the retractable 30 amp cord, which comes through here. You just pull it out for the desired length that you need, shut that down, and there you have like a little bit of a secure compartment for your power hose. And when you store it back up, you'll notice it does have a clip so that water, moisture doesn't get in there. City water connection is located right here. Just when you go to set up, screw that in, make sure it's tight because you do have an adjustable lip on there. Over here is the back of your water heater. Easily accessed. Just release a little pull tab and pull it down. And you notice you have your electric switch right here to cut it off and on. There's your anode rod if you ever need to change it out. Your igniter for your propane is right here. The release valve for the release pressure if you need to check that, or if you're gonna do some winterization or change your anode rod, if you need to release it, just pull up on that, it'll release any of the pressure. And of course, if you need to reset it, you got the double reset switch right there. These are your storage compartments. You notice you do have the lip there, and they are plastic clip held. Just lock those in place. You also will have a key to help keep those locked. Underneath, you'll see that that's our sewage tank. The other one is down on the other side of the axles. But even if you're hooked up to the campsite with sewer, if this is, you'll see that the black handles are for the black tank, the gray handles are for the gray tank. We suggest if you're gonna flush them, do the black tank first so that the gray tank can wash everything out. But you can keep these closed even when you're hooked up to the campsite sewer, because especially with the black tank, you want some fluid in there, you want some water in there so that you don't get that pyramid effect of the solid waste. Come around over here. That there is the other termination point with the handles. Thank you there, Bobby. Right here is your freshwater fill. You'll notice that it's just a cap. You put the water hose in there to fill up. This is a pressure release valve, so that if you're getting close, you can feel the air coming out when you're pumping it full of water. But if it gets too full, the water will start flying out of this hole right here. That's when you know you've gotten it a little bit over full. Since this one does have power stabilizer jacks, you'll notice that there are compartment doors on the inside. Sometimes the rocker switches will be on the coach itself near the stabilizer jack. And to operate them, you just push extend to extend and retract to retract. And here, Bobby, I'll show you how it goes. Now, if the stabilizer jacks are only moving one side at a time, don't worry about it, that's fine. Once they do get down to the ground, that's when you want to stop, because you don't want to put too much pressure on these. They're just for stabilization, they're not for leveling. And then you can close those when you're done. Same thing with your storage doors. So that's the outside of your Gulfstream Enlighten. Let's go take a look at some of the features on the inside. So here we are on the inside of your Gulfstream Enlighten. First thing I want to show you is the command panel right here. Usually it's going to be near the entrance point. Sometimes you might only have a toggle switch, but this is where you go to control pretty much everything inside the RV. Right away, we're going to go from left to right up here. You'll see that we have some gauges right here that let us know how full things are. For example, our battery looks like we're looking good. We're full there. Now, if you go to operate the slide, you want to check and make sure that you got enough voltage to run the slide out. This is a rack and pinion slide, which means there's like a teeth-driven gear on the bottom of the slide on both sides of it. And if you hit the battery right here and you're below 2/3, chances are you don't have enough voltage to actually run the slide out. But that's how you move it in, that's how you move it out. And if you notice the lights will flicker a little bit, that's because the slide does take a lot of power to run in and out. Right here controls your awning. This retracts the awning and this extends it. Just follow that. These are also your tanks. So if you want to see what your fresh tank looks like, your black tank, or your gray tanks, just push that and it'll tell you how full they are. Now, if you're just setting up and you hit the black tank and you notice that it's like 2/3 or maybe even full, but you know nothing's in there, chances are it needs to be cleaned out, or there might be something on the sensor. Just be sure to check that. Here's where you can cut your water heater on, and you'll see that the light comes on to light that. Your water pump, which if you're using city water connection, you don't really need to run the water pump, but if you're docking somewhere and you don't have a city connection, you're pulling from the fresh tank, that's where you want to hit the pump right there, and that'll pump the water for you. And of course, your light controls for the corresponding lights inside the coach. Now, a lot of these lights are the mushroom lights, so even if you flip the switch, but you notice that it's off, there's a little button in the middle. You can just hit that and that'll cut the light on for you. Over here is my Furion sound bar, which you'll have in some of the coaches for your entertainment center. It's easy to operate, it's Bluetooth, it has HDMI as well as USB and auxiliary ports. Then you'll notice we have zones 1 and 2, that's how you can play the music outside. But it's easy to operate, it's actually really loud and sounds good. You push the power button, that'll cut you off and on. Change the mode right there, TV, DVD player, Bluetooth, radio, auxiliary in, your volume controls, as well as your controls if you're playing music forward, back, so forth and so on. Over here inside the kitchen, you have a Furion oven and range. Now this is propane operated. You'll notice that you do have the glass cover and it is recessed. You also have a little light right there giving you some additional night lights, but you'll see that the colors correspond with the 3 burners that you have right here, and usually the last knob to the right is your oven underneath. To cut these on, you just push and turn. There's your controls for high and low, and right here is your igniter. So when you cut that on, just turn the igniter. If you have propane coming through, it should light up. If you do not have any ignition right here, and you know you should, check to make sure that your gas tanks are open. Check to make sure that they have gas in them. If you check that and you still don't have any lights coming on and your oven or your stove aren't working, you might want to have one of our service folks take a look at it. Speaking of the oven, you got the little gray stone. This is 16-incher right here, same thing. You turn that to the light and you push and hold it, and then you turn the igniter. And what that'll do is that'll spark and give you the fire inside your oven, and then you can just control the temperature by turning it. And then always, 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 when you get done, make sure those knobs are off, give them a good turn, closed up and covered up. Propane does have an element inside of it to make it smell, so that you should be able to sense it if you do have propane running, but just always check that for safety and security. Over here, you have your fridge freezer combo. This is the Everchill 12-volt fridge. You might also have the gas electric fridge, but for this one, you notice you got your little latch guard right there. I like to actually use this even when we're inside the coach, besides traveling, because sometimes you might knock around and the kids might hit it, might open it up. But this is the lock, that's your unlock. You got your controls for your freezer up top. You'll see how we have cold and colder. Just turn that to whatever you want. And underneath on your fridge, you have the push button controls right here. So if you want to get cold or coldest, you just push that to cycle through. To cut it off, this is one where you have to, you'll see, hold for 10 seconds to cut off and on. So you just push it and you hold it for 10 seconds. And what will happen is you'll see the lights go out, and boom, now your refrigerator is off. Just a nice little additional safety feature if you need it. Down here is your circuit breaker box. Now, what's cool about the circuit breaker boxes currently is they also come with a red LED indicator. So if one of these breakers are bad, there should be a little red light to let you know that it's bad. But if you find out that, hey, I'm not getting any power, my slide's not running, maybe my AC is not running, and you're plugged into shore power, you've checked the terminal where you've plugged into that circuit breaker is on, you check to make sure that you got a good cord, and you check the circuit breaker box and you're still not getting any juice, if that breaker is not bad, chances are you need to bring your coach in to let one of our service folks check it out for you. Speaking of the AC and the heat, this right here is the Dometic air conditioner. It's a 13.5 BTU AC, which is known as a dump AC. You'll notice this little slider switch right here. This is our quick cool dump. This is awesome, especially for hot days, because you come in, open that up, and hopefully you heard the air rush into my face. This is how you get cooled down quickly. You want to go through the vents, just close it, and now we're pumping through the ducts on the inside. Now, if you want to control the HVAC, you should have a control panel somewhere inside the coach, and it'll look like this Dometic control panel here. The mode button will change you from cool to heat to fan to off, And right here are your temperature controls to go up and down. Now you also have a 16,000 BTU furnace in this one. But I like to tell people, if you're using the air conditioner and it's really hot outside, let's say it's over 90 degrees, and you got this set to 70 degrees, go ahead and set the fan to high. Because if you leave it on auto, what's gonna happen is the air conditioner is gonna cut on and cut off a lot, and that could cause it to freeze up, and that's a problem you just don't wanna have to deal with, especially if you're out camping and it's hot. Coming to the bathroom, you'll see that we have the plastic bowl with the foot flush right here. Sometimes you will have the valve control on the pipe behind the toilet, sometimes you won't. But if you notice on your foot flush, there's a little flapper down there and a black rubber seal. Now, if you push the foot flush and you release it and the water still drains, that means that the seal probably just needs to be lubed. You can take a glove, get some Vaseline or some grease, open up the flapper, get down under that rim with the Vaseline, and that should make the flapper stay in place. Controls for your shower and tub are pretty simple. You see your sprayer nozzle right here with the off-on button right there. Sorry, Bobby. Your controls, and right there, you know, obviously to pull up for shower or down for your tub. Good spot too if you want to clean off the kids or the dogs right there. Now, if you have bunks, you should have a solid mounted ladder. Just be careful with these because you'll notice the steps aren't very thick. So just be careful, be mindful of that when going up, but it is solid mounted, but you still don't want to grab it and yank on it. If you do have a booth dinette inside your unit like this one right here, it does convert down into a bed. You'll notice that the table is on legs and there's a lip underneath the booth right here. You see how there's a lip right there? And to convert it into the bed, you just lift the table up, set that out of the way. You'll see that the legs are tapered on both sides. You see how they have those bends right there? That's so they can fit in the holes in the table and into the floor. Now comes the tricky part, getting the table into the spot. What I like to do is just have a seat on one side, slide it in, step up out of the way, lift up the seat, watch your fingers, drop it down. Now you can take the cushions off the back, slide that in, and there, minus the tag, you have yourself a pretty comfortable bed. Now, depending on space and how you want to sleep and who you want to sleep, you can figure that out on your own. If your unit also has a jackknife sofa, this is another good place to sleep, another sleeping spot. Just be careful when operating it. Grab the back and the bottom, just lift up. Sometimes you'll notice you have storage under there. Just be careful when laying it out. Lift the bottom all the way up, set it down. There you have yourself another nice little sleeping area. Inside the master bedroom, here you go, Bobby. Going to show you two quick things. Underneath your bed on the Gulfstream Enlighten, the fresh water tank is located above the coach. That's just to give it a little additional safety and security, plus easy access. And since it's above the coach, if you're going through colder weather, it's not as exposed to the elements as if it were underneath the coach. Last but not least here, let me show you another little trick. With these, you see how that slides up and down? You'll notice that these are just on a suspension string. Now, over time, these are gonna loosen, which means when you try to push up the shade, it won't stay. All you gotta do to tighten it up, take your finger and wrap it around the bolt, but be sure to do it on both sides so that it's even tension and you won't get that wonky, cockeyed shade. So there you have it. Hopefully, those few tips will help you enjoy your Gulfstream Enlighten a little bit more and come in helpful, because what we want to do is we want to make sure that you have the best and most enjoyable RV experience possible. But if at any time, be sure to call or come by one of our service centers. Let one of our elite team members help you out to ensure that you do have that enjoyable RV experience.